Donald Trump's travel ban 2.0. This is an amazing story when we get to the actual meat of it. Donald Trump's travel ban has been blocked by a U.S. District Court judge in Hawaii by the name of Derrick Watson. Derrick Watson, there are several hearings that took place today and that have been taking place with regard to the rollout or the actual implementation of Donald Trump's travel ban that's supposed to take place tonight or tomorrow morning, depending how you count it, at 12:01 a.m. So tomorrow morning, it's supposed to roll out, and it has already been blocked. Based on I want you to hear the language, or rather read the language of the U.S. District Court Judge Derrick Watson, who was an Obama appointee. But when you hear his logic and you hear his argument, it is perfect in regards to the federal government. And in this case, when we talk about the federal government, we're talking about the Trump administration's argument in favor of the ban. So just a little more context. One of the reasons the previous ban was blocked and they had to come back with another executive order was because of the language, because of how fast and hastily it was put together. But particularly it hinged on the reality that the language from the campaign, from the Trump campaign, as well as the targeted countries, constituted a targeting of a particular religion. And because of that, it fell apart. It was banned. It was blocked. Now they've come back. And their argument this time is very similar to the previous argument. They're still banning, I believe, 6 countries at this point. They took Iraq off the list. They're banning 6, or attempting to ban 6 countries because it has now been blocked. But their argument, their fundamental argument is this, that it's not really a Muslim ban because we're not banning all of Muslim countries. So we can't possibly be banning Muslims because, look, we're only banning entry from 6 countries. Never mind, they're predominantly Muslim countries, but look at all of the Muslim countries we're not banning. Well, to that, Judge Watson, man. Well, let me just show you on the screen. Here's his response. He said, "The illogic of the government's contentions is palpable. The notion that one can demonstrate animus toward any group of people only by targeting all of them at once is fundamentally flawed." He went on to say, the court declines to relegate its Establishment Clause analysis to a purely mathematical exercise. I mean, I don't know if you caught it. I hope you did. But, man, basically, if you didn't catch it, let me just break it down. He's basically saying you cannot argue to me and think that it's logical to argue that because you're not targeting all Muslims, that you're not demonstrating animus towards Muslims. In other words, if for you to be a bigot, by your definition, Donald Trump, you have to be bigoted and express this bigotry towards every single Muslim in the world. In other words, you're creating a standard that basically makes in this particular case, this specific case, the Establishment Clause, as the judge said, an analysis of a purely mathematical exercise. In other words, let's count how many Muslims you're banning, and if you don't cross a certain threshold, then you're not really being a bigot. And the judge, I mean, that is a beautiful debunking, destruction of this argument that has been pervasive from the right, saying that this can't possibly be a Muslim ban because we're not banning all Muslims. We're not banning all majority Muslim countries. We're just banning 6. And the judge said, no, get that out of here. We're not going to reduce the Establishment Clause, which is basically saying that the First Amendment, the United States cannot establish a religion or show favoritism toward, if I'm reducing it to regular jargon, show favoritism towards a particular religion, or to attack one religion and lift another. He said, we're not going to reduce the Establishment Clause to a purely mathematical exercise. And so as a result, he instituted a block on the Muslim ban 2.0. Another set of arguments that took place today that I thought were very yield some really good conversation in regards to this would be the hearing that took place in Maryland, which was being heard by U.S. District Court Judge Theodore Chung. And according to Politico, they said, quote, much of the argument turned on how much weight the judge should give to the repeated statements Trump made during the presidential campaign about banning the entry of Muslims into the United States. Lawyers for refugee aid organizations pleaded with the judge not to bury his hand in the sand and ignore Trump's numerous vows to cut off travel to the U.S. by adherents of Islam, end quote. In other words, this particular judge is really trying to see how far are we going to allow the plaintiffs in these cases to take Donald Trump's words from the campaign and use them as the justification for their hearing, for their lawsuit. Basically saying that, you know, yes, during the campaign trail, Donald Trump regularly said that it is a Muslim ban. After the election, and actually they cited Rudy Giuliani in one of these hearings today. After the election, Rudy Giuliani got on television and made it clear that Donald Trump wanted to institute a Muslim ban and had to find a way to do it legally. And so the plaintiffs were asking the judge to don't ignore the fact that his intention from the beginning was to institute a Muslim ban. The judge actually had, just for the sake of good arguments, because that's what this entire, I mean, I need to read these decisions a lot more because the arguments are, even if you disagree with some of the arguments, they're usually very thought out and very logical. The judge said in this particular case, he said, quote, how could they ever do that without you coming back to the exact same arguments? I think we ought to go back to the first ban and go all the anyway. The first part is what I want. How could they ever do anything without you coming back to the exact same argument? In other words, is Donald Trump now in perpetuity unable to institute a travel restriction or any type of what they call it, extreme vetting because of what he said on the campaign trail? That's a great question. I'm not in the position that's going to be something that he has to answer. He hasn't answered it yet. He's supposed to issue a statement, his decision later on tonight. And this is Theodore Chang. He's supposed to issue his, but the beauty of it is that so long as they are looking for the intent, and they're able to draw on the evidence from the election, from the campaign, and from the words of a person who was being considered to be the attorney general, Rudy Giuliani, the Trump campaign is almost saddled with this argument until a judge decides that they don't want to hear that argument anymore. And I'm not quite sure what their justification or what precedent they would use to actually make that case. But either way it goes, as it stands right now, there's a worldwide ban, or worldwide block, rather, of Donald Trump's second attempt at a Muslim ban. And that's where we are. I want to add one last thing to the Donald Trump's ban. This is a quote, actually. This is a quote from Donald Trump. I believe this quote, if I'm not mistaken, I'm just seeing this in my timeline on Twitter. I believe this quote is after he heard about the judge blocking it. Give me 2 seconds to make sure. But he said that today in his rally. He said, I think we ought to go back to the first ban and go all the way. That's what I wanted to do in the first place. God dog it. Trump, you're an idiot. You're so dumb. Because now everything that I just said in terms of at what point does a federal judge decide that Donald Trump's statements in the election can no longer be used as a valid argument in perpetuity, at least. We have fresh statements. We have a fresh statement from the President of the United States basically confessing that what he wanted to do in the first place was a full-on ban. Oh my goodness. You guys, Donald Trump may understand media. He may understand how to play people, how to play the newspapers, how to play Rachel Maddow and make her look silly. He may understand that, but one thing Donald Trump does not understand is government. He does not understand government, and he has just single-handedly given the U.S. District Court judge from Maryland, given him everything that he needs to go ahead and block, to add an additional block, because it's already been blocked by the U.S. District Court Judge Derrick Watson in Hawaii. But he's given, I think, Theodore Chang everything that he needs now to say, okay, well, now I don't have to look at his statement during the election. I don't have to look at Rudy Giuliani's statement. I could look at his statement today from his rally in Tennessee and ascertain that his intention was to ban Muslims from the beginning. All because you have a president of the United States who is legitimately dumb with regard to how government works. He hasn't a clue. And it's funny in this case, but think about all of the other cases where it is scary and extremely dangerous.